Hello everybody, welcome back to Levy University. I'm your host Saigan. We're going to be taking a look at the noise core deck today and how we can make it a little bit more focused as a core deck. First off, let's take a look at what is in the recommended core deck, and then we'll take a look at fixing it. So to start off, we have noise. We talked about him last time. Whenever you install a virus program, the corp trash is the top card of R&D. So the strategy that noise kind of works around is installing a lot of viruses just to flip cards from R&D into archives. And it's really, really effective for two reasons. One, it will deny the corporation cards that they might be wanting to draw. And two, it puts agendas in a spot that we can easily grab a bunch of them at once. Because when you access the archives, you access all of the archives. So what you do is you spend half of the game just kind of playing normally. You're going to be installing a lot of virus cards. And then once you've kind of flipped enough cards into their archives, you punch in, and there's probably going to be several agendas in there, depending on how long the game has been going on. Alternatively, you could flip enough agendas into their archives that they won't even be able to finish the game. And then you can just sit back and relax while you watch them draw their cards out, and eventually they lose. So he's a really, really good runner, especially in the core set. He's going to be getting a little bit weaker with opening moves in the spin cycle coming out tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 25th of September. Opening moves is hitting stores tomorrow. Cyberdex trial. It's an event for corporations, not event, operation. Corps have operations that purges all virus counters. Normally, the corp has to spend all 3 of their clicks to purge virus counters. Noise is going to be a little bit less useful after that comes out, but I imagine he's still going to be pretty decent. Events. We have Deja Vu. 2 credits, add 1 card or up to 2 virus cards from your heap to your grip. Demolition Run for 2 credits. Sabotage Event, or Run Sabotage Event. Make a run on HQ or R&D. You may trash at no cost any cards you access, even if the cards cannot normally be trashed. Very great card. It works very well with Medium, which we're going to get to later. Infiltration, 0 credits. It's an event. You can gain 2 credits or expose 1 card. It's very flexible. Either it's cash for you, or if you're worried about something that the corp is advancing and you can't really read on whether or not it's a trap of some kind. Hey, infiltration. Oh, look at that. You're advancing a Project Junebug. I'm going to leave that alone, and you've wasted a lot of time. Next up, Stim Hack, 0 credits, run event. You make a run and gain 9 credits, which you can use only during the run. When the run is completed, you suffer 1 brain damage and return to the bank any of the 9 credits not spent. Really, really, really good card. Stim Hack is going to be your game ender. Stim Hack is going to let you punch through any kind of walls of ice that they've put up. Sure Gamble, 5 credits event, you gain 9 credits. So long as you have at least 5 credits in your pool, you're going to get 4 credits off of 1 click. Very good card. Most runner decks run 3 of them. Next up, in hardware, we have Cyber Feeder, 2 credits. It's chip-type hardware, 1 reusable credit that you can use for paying for Icebreakers or for installing virus programs. It's pseudo-drip economy, and it's very, very strong. You see it in a lot of decks, even outside of Anarch faction. Grimoire, 3 credits. Console hardware, gives you +2 memory. We're going to be installing a lot of programs. That +2 memory is really good. Whenever you install a virus program, place 1 virus counter on that program. Very strong for noise. Generally, you're only going to be getting 1 virus counter per turn for the programs that you install. This gives them kind of a turn ahead bonus. Sadly, Grimoire is one of the cards that you only get a single copy of in the core set, so we can only run 1 of them. It's a shame. That's one of the consoles in the core set are definitely one of the reasons that some people, myself included, pick up 2 or 3 core sets. I haven't found a reason to pick up a 3rd one, but I did pick up a 2nd one. It also makes building like training decks much, much easier. Decks like this, which I have built. I'm running it tonight. Let's see, we've got Corroder, 2 copies. It's a program for 2 credits, 2 strength. It has 1 memory, and it breaks barrier subroutines for 1 credit, and it goes up +1 strength for 1 credit. Corroder is an excellent example of solid icebreakers. You get the strength for it, it breaks subroutines for 1, and it goes up strength +1. It's so solid, it's efficient, it does exactly what you want an icebreaker to do. It pumps and it breaks. Crypsis, 5 credits, 1 memory unit, 0 strength. It's an AI type icebreaker. AI icebreakers generally will be able to break any kind of icebreaker or of ice. Fortunately, they all have like their own kinds of drawbacks. Crypsis is pretty solid though. It's got 1 credit to break an ice subroutine, 1 credit for +1 strength, and you can spend a click to put a virus counter on it. He is also a virus type, so he works with Grimoire. He also works with Noise's ability. When an encounter with a piece of ice in which you used Crypsis to break a subroutine ends, you remove 1 hosted virus counter or trash Crypsis. He's slow to use, but he is very reliable. It starts off the core set with having 3 copies in it. Data Sucker, 2 copies. It is a virus program. 1 credit, 1 memory unit. Whenever you make a successful run on a central server, you place 1 virus counter on Data Sucker. Hosted virus counter, rezzed piece of ice currently being encountered, has -1 strength until the end of the encounter. It's a great card. It gets you running on those central servers, and it also forces the corporation into another situation where they might want to purge virus counters because the Data Sucker is going to make your icebreakers that much more effective. Jin, 2 copies, 2 credits, 1 memory, demon program. Jin can host up to 3 memory unit of non-icebreaker programs. The memory costs of hosted programs do not count against your memory limit. So you can stack up as many as 3 non-icebreaker programs, probably going to wind up being viruses to go along with Noise's ability. The final ability on Jin is 1 credit, 1 click. You can search your stack for a virus program, reveal it, and add it to your grip. Shuffle your stack. Great card. Perfect in the deck. It'll ensure that you continue getting virus programs to throw out there and help continue milling out and hurting the corporation, eventually forcing them to lose a turn to purge virus counters. Next up, we have Medium, 2 copies, 3 credits, 1 memory unit. It's another virus. Whenever you make a successful run on R&D, you place 1 virus counter on Medium. Each virus counter after the first on Medium allows you to access 1 additional card from R&D whenever you access cards from R&D. This is the one that combos really well with Demolition Run. You get 4 or 5 virus counters on Medium, you swing in and access 3 or 4 cards at once on a Demolition Run, you're probably going to hit at least 1 agenda off of that. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to trash for free all of the cards that you access, even cards that don't have trash costs like Operations. Next up, 2 copies of Mimic for 3 credits, 1 memory unit. It is 3 strength. It's our killer icebreaker, which breaks sentry subroutines, and it's very simple. You spend 1 to break a sentry subroutine. It doesn't boost its own strength. It's fairly cost effective, and it works very well with things like Data Sucker and Parasite and Ice Carver, but it's unreliable in that you can't pump it for runs in case your opponent goes ahead and purges those virus counters. So we're probably going to swap it out for something that can pump up its own strength on its own. Let's see, we've got 3 copies of Parasite, one of the finest Anarch cards ever made. It's 2 credits, 1 memory unit. It is another virus. You can install Parasite only on a rezzed piece of ice. Keep in mind, you cannot install Parasite to Demon. You can still use the Demon to go hunt for a Parasite out of your deck, but you cannot utilize Demon for the installation. Host dice has -1 strength for each virus counter on Parasite, and it's trashed if its strength is 0 or less. When your turn begins, you place 1 virus counter on Parasite. Parasite gives the corporation kind of another forced countdown on how long they're going to let those virus counters build up, because it's either going to kill their ice or it's just going to make it to the point where you can bust through without much problem at all. Very good card. It's been run in a number of decks, and it's only 2 influence points, so that certainly plays a role. Next up, we have 2 copies of Wyrm, 1 credit, 1 memory unit, and 1 strength. That's Wyrm like the dragon type Wyrm, not like an earthworm. It is an Icebreaker AI, meaning it can break any kind of ice. Wyrm's a little bit weird. For 3 credits, you can break an ice subroutine on a piece of ice with 0 or less strength. Strange. 1 credit, ice has -1 strength. That actually works really well with Parasite. Wyrm and Parasite together can just kill ice. That's neat. 1 credit for +1 strength. No idea why it is there. I don't know why you would pump the strength on this, because breaking the subroutines is not determined by Wyrm's own strength. It's determined by the ice's strength, and that is just strange to even have on there. It's an interesting card, but it works better with a lot of the new sets that allow you to go get Parasite back more and more often. Yeah, we've got Deja Vu in here, but that's not really enough focus to make Wyrm a really good ice killer. We also have 2 copies of Yogg, 5 credits, 1 memory unit, 3 strength, and for free, it will break a Code Gate subroutine. It doesn't pump itself. Yogg is really, really, really good in the right deck type. It does work well with Parasite and Data Sucker and Ice Carver, much like Mimic, but it is reliant on the corporation allowing the virus counters to get that high. You're going to have to sit on Yogg in your hand in order to surprise the corporation with it. As soon as Yogg comes out, they're going to be like, oh, well, now I know exactly when to spend my turn purging virus counters. Same goes for Mimic. It's good, but there are more tools that we would need to make Yogg better. We're probably going to swap it out for something more reliable. Resources. We have 3 copies of access to Global Sec. It's 1 credit. It's a link type resource. It gives you 1 link. Tag and Bag is a thing right now. Tag and Bag is even a thing in Core Set. NBN and Wayland are really, really good at getting tags onto the runner and then blowing up their house or sending hit squads after them. Access to Global Sec makes it a little bit easier to avoid those tags. It helps with any of the ice that traces to give you a tag. It helps with things like mid-season replacements, which punishes you for stealing agendas with really high power traces. And running 3 copies of access to Global Sec is just going to make you a little bit safer in such a corporate aggressive environment. The most successful corps right now are not defensive. They're trying to kill you. Armitage Code Busting, 3 copies, 1 credit. It's a job resource. You place 12 credits from the bank on Armitage Code Busting when it is installed. When there are no credits left on Armitage Code Busting, you trash it. For a click, you will take 2 credits from Armitage Code Busting. It's a really, really strong economy card, especially in Core Set. This is probably the best economy. Now, I'm going to say it. It is the best runner economy card in the Core Set. You run 3 copies of it. If all you're running is Core Set, later on you'll get things like Katie Jones, who's amazing and better than Armitage Code Busting most of the time, but there are a lot of decks that still run Armitage Code Busting. Ice Carver. We have only 1 copy, sadly. This is another one that you could probably safely run 3 copies of and be happy with. 3 credits to put out virtual resource. All ice is encountered with its strength lowered by 1. Again, there's that synergy with Parasite and Data Sucker, and then you've got your cheaper icebreakers like Yogg and Mimic. Unfortunately, we only get the 1 in the core set, and that's a damned shame. Next up, we have 2 copies of Wild Side. CD location resource for 3 credits. When your turn begins, draw 2 cards and lose 1 credit, or lose 1 click. Card draw is really, really important in this game, and the runner isn't too terribly punished by it. The runner can run out of deck and not lose the game. That's specific to corporate side. Being able to draw 2 cards off of 1 click every turn, it's usually going to be totally worth it. This is going to let you dig through your entire deck very quickly and start building up in your hand and on the field exactly what you need to finish out the game. It's going to give you a steady flow of viruses. It's going to let you hit your Djinn sooner. It's going to let you hit your Icebreakers sooner. And it's going to make it so that when you're ready, you're going to have Stim Hack or Demolition Run sitting in your hand. So that is the deck list for the core set, what it normally comes with. When we come back in a moment, I'm going to take a look at the changes I made to the core set deck list utilizing some Shaper and Criminal cards. So I will be back in a moment. Quick break, and I will see you guys shortly. Alright guys, we're back from the break. Welcome back to Levy University. I'm your host, Saigan. We're going to be covering some deck strategy for noise in the core set today. We just went over what comes in the box and what they kind of recommend for your first deck. But we're going to adjust it now with some simple changes, and I'm going to explain to you why I made them. Let's see, first off, we want to trim the deck down to being 45 cards. 45 cards is the minimum deck limit. There's not really any reason that you want to go higher than that. Sometimes you might run 46 or 47, but the less cards you have in your deck, the more likely you are to draw exactly what you need every time. So first off, we're going to take out one copy of Demolition Run and one copy of Stim Hack. They're great cards, but you don't want to draw them all the time. There's a general rule for deck building where if a card is good, every time you draw it, and you're always going to be happy to see it in your hand, run 3 copies, the maximum. If a card is good and you never really need more than 1 copy in your hand, but you're definitely going to want to see it at each game, run 2 of them. If the card is kind of situational, but still solid, and you're never going to really play more than 1 per game, only 1 copy. This will change depending on your local metagame, so don't take what I say as a solid, concrete rule. It's a guideline. A lot of metagames are going to be running Scorched Earth. I keep bringing up Scorched Earth. I do that because it's such a major card for corporations right now. Plasticrete Carapace, for example, it's not in the core set, but it's a really, really good card. It shuts down Scorched Earth very effectively. So most runners are going to run 3 of them right now because 9 out of 10 times they play against a corporation, Scorched Earth is going to be in there. If Scorched Earth isn't in the corporation deck, well, Plasticrete Carapace is actually suddenly kind of a waste. But, you know, that's the nature of the metagame. You kind of have to adjust your deck based on who you're going to be playing against. As far as fixes are concerned, I took out both Mimics. They work fine with the deck, but there's not enough focus in the deck with just the core set cards, and I wanted something a little bit more reliable than Mimic, something that won't get screwed over by the corporation purging virus counters, because that'll really muck up any plans with cards like Mimic and Yogg. So instead of Mimic, I went with 2 copies of Ninja. Ninja is a criminal card for 2 influence points. It's 4 credits to put out. It's 1 memory unit, and it has 0 strength. It can break a sentry subroutine for 1 credit, and it can go to +5 strength for 3 credits. 5 strength is going to break most sentries, unless you're playing against like Hosbyroroid Big Eyes. Ninja is fairly efficient, and it's still going to see some boost from your cards like Data Sucker and Ice Carver. Parasite will help it to a degree, but remember, the best part about Parasite is the chance of getting to kill the ice outright or just forcing the corporation to purge virus counters. Ninja doesn't rely on other cards to be a good breaker. It just is on its own, and that's what we want to go for to make the deck more reliable. We're also going to take out those 2 copies of Yogg for the same reason. Yogg relies on other cards to become really, really good. It's a fantastic card, don't get me wrong, but we can't build a deck around it at this point with only the core set cards. As these videos continue, I'm going to start utilizing the data packs as well and showing you how you can grow and improve your decks for each of the IDs. So instead of Yogg, we're going to run the very solid Gordian Blade, which is the Shaper Code Gate Breaker. It's 4 credit, 1 memory unit, 2 strength, and much like Corroder, it's +1 strength for 1 credit, and break a Code Gate subroutine for 1 credit instead of the Corroder, which breaks barriers. The difference with the Gordian Blade and why it's a little bit more expensive is that +1 strength lasts for the remainder of the run. It's not going to change that many games, but when it does, it's like Christmas. Suddenly noticing that, like, 3 code gates are lined up, it's like, oh yeah, I'm running that. Next up, we're going to lose 1 Crypsis and put in 1 Femme Fatale. I would like to find room for 2 Femme Fatales. I just couldn't decide where to do it before the video went up. Excuse my phone. Femme Fatale is good to always run 2. Crypsis is also really good to probably run 2. You could alternatively take out 2 Crypsises and put in 2 Femme Fatales. Both are solid. Both get you past everything. And what Femme Fatale does, and most decks will run 2 or 3 copies of her because she's so great. She gets past anything. She's 9 credits, 1 memory unit. Very, very expensive card to put out, but totally worth it. 2 strength, meh. Killer type. She can break sentry subroutines for just 1 credit. Okay. 2 credits for +1 strength. Why would you use this card? Sai, you just gave us this information off of Corroder for what makes a solid Icebreaker. You're not actually going to be using her too often to just break sentry subroutines. You use Femme Fatale as a problem solver, because when you install Femme Fatale, you pick a piece of installed ice, and when you encounter that ice, you can spend a credit per subroutine on the ice to bypass it. You're not even breaking subroutines. You're just seeing that ice and you're saying, I don't want to deal with you, and going around. That's what Femme Fatale does, and that's why she is amazing, because it doesn't matter how strong their ice is, what it does, what type it is, Femme Fatale is just going to walk around it. So we definitely want to have at least 1 of her in the deck. If you can find a place to put 2, or hell, even go up to, well, no, she's that influence points. We would have to take out something else. I don't want to figure out what that would be right now, honestly. So let's just continue the video. What else are we removing? We're removing 2 Worm. I think that Worm could be really, really good in the right deck. Something that plays a lot with your heap. Something that can install a bunch from the heap. I would actually consider running Worm along with Parasite in a Shaper deck. Because Shapers have lots of ways to install and get back cards from their heap. But here, we're going to go for something more reliable again, and we have not addressed dealing with Scorched Earth. So what we're doing is we're taking out 2 Worm, and we're putting in 2 Crash Space, which is another criminal card. There's a lot of really good criminal cards in Core Set. 2 Influence, 2 credits to put out, so it's nice and cheap. It's a location resource. It's got 2 reusable credits for paying for removing tags. That alone is okay. The corporation is going to have to put tags on you in order to hit you with Scorched Earth or closed accounts. The problem is that several corporations have ways of tagging you on their own turn. In fact, that's when it will often happen, and then off of that tag, just going into a Scorched Earth, or sometimes 2. What Crash Space does is it soaks up some of that damage, because you can trash it to prevent up to 3 meat damage. There's only 2 in the core set. If there were 3, I would probably try to find space for all 3 of them. And if your opponent is running NBN or Wayland, play defensively until you can get crash space out. Definitely. And make sure to check their archives often to see how many Scorched Earth you've managed to throw away. You want to keep count on that, and you want to see if they're holding cards in their hand. It's very, very important to keep track of that information in this game. There's always the question of card advantage in a lot of card games. Netrunner, you are it's an extreme case of playing against your opponent instead of playing against your opponent's deck. Watch what they do, watch the habits that they build, and watch how they kind of tend to build their ice and what starts to worry them, and you can start considering what should be worrying you. So I'm going to go ahead and post a link to the deck below in the video information. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. I'm actually probably going to be running this deck tonight. It's Wednesday night. If you're in Colorado Springs, I play at the Yellow King every Wednesday night. It's over off of Iowa and Kiowa. Complicated street naming. I play there every Wednesday night. It's like 6 or 7 p.m. We have a good time. There's only a couple of us, but yeah, we play every week. The game is a blast. And there are plenty of ways to build decks within just the core set alone, while you decide if it's something that you want to invest into further with the data packs, which you can find sometimes on sale for $10 online. Usually you're going to find them for their suggested retail price of $15. Always be sure to support your local game store because they give you a place to play. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you guys next time. Again, this is Levy University. I'm your host, Saigan. Let me know what core set ID you would like to see me do a deck on for next time. Corporation, runner, doesn't matter. I really enjoy deck building. I think it's a really important skill to have when playing competitive card games like this. So, take care, everyone, and happy running. I'll think of something cooler to say than that, but see you later.